So you finally migrated to the cloud. Fantastic. Pat on the back. Great job. What's really important now, though, is to understand how you're going to manage your new cloud assets. Governance, compliance, all of those things don't go away. And most importantly, how do you ensure that your employees are still being productive on your new platform? We're going to talk to our expert panel and understand again, from the IT pro, the C-level executive, and the security officer point of view, how we can make the best of our investment in our new cloud infrastructure.
So once your business are on the cloud, some of the biggest obstacles is driving adoption. So it's to get your business users to start utilizing the technology that you have at hand. Now the data is migrated, you have procured licenses, you have this highly scalable platform. How do you encourage people to use it? It's really a combination of people, process, technology, as we mentioned earlier. It's really to have key advocates to make sure that they drive adoption and showcase, key evangelists to showcase how this technology can make business and work better and faster. But it's also about change management. This part of this process actually should occur during the migration process so that your end users know what's coming, expected what's coming, and are very well trained on the new cloud paradigm, how they can access information now much more flexibly compared to before. And lastly, from a scalability perspective, the benefit of cloud, it is that it's highly scalable. So the downside of that could be that you may not anticipate the costs from a revving up, revving down, bandwidth, storage perspective. And this is where you should think about how to control the volume of data that you have and where those data are located. With cloud providers, the pricing paradigm varies greatly between different providers. So it's important to have that flexibility.
So you've made it. You've successfully migrated at least some of your workloads to some kind of cloud. So what's next? What are you in for? The fortunate or unfortunate reality is that you probably already know what you're in for, because users still do the same things when they collaborate in the cloud as they do on premises. They still have problems understanding permissions. They still create content all over the place. So managing that cloud architecture from a user perspective, from a content perspective, it's going to be about the same as what you already know. You also, though, are going to want to think about the underlying cloud platform itself. Do you have the tools and the expertise to, for example, manage a tenant in Office 365, understand the licensing and how that works? Where do you have licenses that are being used and unused? There's a lot to consider. Some of it's new, some of it's the same stuff you're dealing with now.
One of the things that's important is that upon completion of the migration, you have achieved some level of success. But true success is when your end users start to adopt and use the platform, in almost a viral sense. And in order to do that, you really need a lot of information, especially in a large organization or a geo-distributed organization, where you're trying to keep tabs on your users and really understand, are they using the new portal you sent up? Are they, creating wiki sites? Are they sharing content on OneDrive for Business? Or are they just kind of stuck still using Exchange, right? Even if it's Exchange online, you still don't want email to be the only and primary method of communication within your organization. So you want to do things like, encourage your end users to use new platforms that have been made available to them by moving to the cloud. Things like Yammer, being able to use Link or Skype to facilitate conversations. And so one of the things I think is really lacking natively is a set of tools to report on user adoption. One of the things that's really important is moving to an online platform does relieve a lot of the problems that you might have experienced managing an on-prem platform. So patching, data center management, data center security, upgrades, all of that really fades away and becomes an afterthought. But what's really important is the problems that could potentially still cause the most damage. So doing things like managing churn within the organization. If you have a lot of users, maybe temp workers that are leaving the organization and coming in, who's managing those identities, who's managing the licenses, who's making sure that somebody doesn't have access after the fact, that they've left the organization, or they have a level of access that is way over the privilege they should be granted. At the same time, it's very difficult to tell if document is being created and uploaded in the right places. So having a set of tools that can monitor, tag, and classify content, making sure that it sits in the right team site, it's not being uploaded to OneDrives, and being shared with everybody is very important. And lastly, I think we think about this new platform, we think about the cloud, but we forget about the basics of content lifecycle. So as content is uploaded to the cloud, if you think about OneDrive, for example, you have unlimited storage. It's a great place for end users to upload documents. You can have terabyte site collections now. So you can have team sites, full of content. The issue is what happens when that content becomes stale. So the business requirements to still be able to classify content, tag it, and mark it for archival or deletion, and more importantly, when it is marked that way and it's taken offline, what happens to it? Is it just deleted? Is it put in cold storage? Is that storage on-prem or in the cloud? These are decisions that organizations are going to have to deal with and make. And one of the things that I think is very important is I think they should make them proactively. A lot of them looked at this migration project as the immediate threat. They migrated successfully and, mission accomplished. They're not going to focus on the problems going forward. And I think what's really important is you might as well tackle them now before your Office 365 platform kind of balloons out of control and you run into a lot of the old problems we saw back in the SharePoint 2003, 2007 days with content sprawl and not knowing where to put things.
So if we look at one of the leading cloud providers and cloud services, let's look at Office 365 and examine what it is. Office 365 is a platform. Within that platform, there are services that you can utilize as you need them. You have one place to register all the users that are going to use that service, and then you can just determine what specific services those users are accessing. We took the same approach with our AvePoint Online Services system. It's one platform to manage your governance, your compliance, the management of your SharePoint sites and permissions, one place for users to register, one place for you to launch off and access any of those specific services that you need. Because our AvePoint Online Services architecture is hosted on Microsoft Azure, we're in the same data centers as the Office 365 deployments that we manage. This makes it very, very useful for customers who want good performance when they're archiving out, backing up, or moving content from one location to another. Another thing that Azure service gives us is the ability to scale infinitely to support the level and the types of customers that may be using our service that particular month.
Now, one of the ways that AvePoint provides a difference in the compliance space from helping to make sure that you are in compliance with best practices is by not only managing compliance of your data in the cloud, but also managing compliance of that same data as it moves from an on-premise environment to your cloud stores and across all of these systems, whether they're file shares or websites or databases or instant messaging systems, social systems or systems in the cloud. Data is ubiquitous, and regardless of the source, wherever it is, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, one of the differences that AvePoint Solutions really brings to the table is being able to have a unified compliance program that manages compliance across all of your data, wherever it may be.
Thanks for joining our session on Managing the Cloud. And this wraps up our series, Spotlight in the Cloud. If you missed any of our episodes, make sure you visit AvePoint.com for more information.